Hey! Welcome to Janktown. Will here, and while Eldraine spoilers are ongoing right now, which means today we're gonna be talking about one of the commanders I'm most hyped for, Rowan, Scion of War. So two big changes to Rowan. One, she's no longer a planeswalker, and two, she's no longer attached to her brother. As usual, we'll be breaking down her commander and her playstyle, our deck's different themes, and I'll give a walkthrough of the card choices, and we'll end it all with some channel updates. So I hope you can stick around for that. Rowan, Scion of War is a 3-mana value 4/2 human wizard with menace, and she has a tapped ability that reads, spells we cast this turn that are black and or red cost X less, where X is the amount of life we've lost this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Now there have been similar Rakdos commanders printed in the past, and the two that immediately come to mind are OG Rakdos and Grevin. Now, Rowan does have her nuances, and one of the biggest ones is that unlike those two, it's not a static ability. It's an activated ability. This means once we tap her, we're locking in our discount. Another thing to keep in mind is the sequencing. Again, since it's an activated ability, to get the discount we need to tap her. And what this means is that if we play something that'll make us pay life or lose life, our opponents can respond to that on the stack by removing her. So since the life loss hasn't happened yet, even if we tap her, we get nothing. Actually, we get worse than nothing. We just, lost a bunch of life. So ideally, what we want to be doing is either losing the life first and then bring her down, ideally with something like haste. So we have priority to tap her and immediately get value, or we tap her first and then while the ability's on the stack, then we do our life loss shenanigans. This means we're putting a premium on being able to lose life at instant speed, and that way even if she dies in response, at least her ability is already on the stack and we're guaranteed of getting the discount. Alright, so Rowan's role in our deck is that of an enabler. So she isn't inherently aggressive. I guess she has menace, but she doesn't poop out like Eldrazi's or colorless creatures en masse, the way Rakdos would, and she doesn't have that one-punch power that, let's say, a Grevin would. But what she can do though is discount spells, not just creature spells, but any spell. And this opens up a unique play pattern. Our deck will be able to run without her, albeit a bit more clunky, but with her around, she's gonna make our turns explosive. And once she becomes mainstream, players are gonna catch on quick. So be ready for it to be treated as like a kill on sight commander. Don't run her out as soon as you can. You wanna make sure you already have something in hand so that you can explode the turn she comes down. And believe me, she is explosive. The 7 different themes of this deck consist of our usuals of ramp, removal, and draw, but I'll start with our other themes, namely rituals, payoffs, resilience, and something we like to call UBP or utilities, bombs, and pets. Now before we get into the specific cards, I hope you could show some support to the channel by hitting the like and subscribing, because algorithm stuff. We're actually a little over 600 subscribers now, which is pretty crazy, pretty amazing when you think about it. And so the support you guys have shown is a big catalyst, a big factor of why we're keeping the channel going. So thank you guys so much, and let's get into it. Even with Rowan's discounts, our deck is a mana-hungry one. Rowan only discounts colorless, so we'll need to pay for the red and black pips. Dark Ritual is a classic, literally in the name, but the Priest of Gix and Urabrask are a pair of Dark Ritual-like creatures that create 3 black and 3 red respectively. And remember, with Rowan, these guys can cost as little as 1 mana each, so kind of like Dark Ritual on a creature. Jeska's Will is an explosive card, we all know this, but Rousing Refrain is a 5-drop version of that first mode. Wow, Jeska's Will really is busted. Anyway, the Suspend is a nice alternate mode, though as you can imagine it's kinda slow, but it's decent if you have nothing to do in your early turns, but still it'd be best to cast it with a Rowan discount and get that Jeska's Will effect for cheap. Top-end rituals are Seething Song, Brass's Bounty, and Mana Geyser. Now for what they cost, especially with the discounts, these cards can make a lot of mana to really pull us ahead and set us up for that big explosive turn. But while these make a lot of mana, Birgi and Treasonous Ogre are the highest threat levels in our deck. Birgi discounts our next red spell, which is huge when we're trying to close out games, and Treasonous Ogre has both the life loss and the mana built into it. Again, you want to activate this while Rowan's ability is on the stack, just to maximize their discount and also guarantee it. An obvious omission I made is Kirik. He makes the deck better, no doubt, but I don't know, I associate him with more like CEDH, borderline CEDH, so it's a subjective line. To each his own, but it's just not my cup of tea. With all the discounts in mana, what are we really ramping into? Crackle with Power and Torment of Hailfire are just some staple game enders, especially for decks that run black and red, and they work really well with Rowan. These two are the ones I particularly went with because you're not getting a 1-for-1 like you typically would with an X spell. For every 3 you put into X, Crackle deals 5 damage. And for every 1 you put into X with Torment, you're able to deal 3 damage or 3 life loss. So they punch above their weight class, and that's why I put them in. Staying on theme with X spells though is Fanning the Flames. And buyback is a neat little trick because if you have the discount of, let's say, 10, that means the 3 will go into the buyback and the 7 goes into damage. Now, you can keep looping this for as long as you can pay for the red pips. It's a cute trick and it's a cool pet card that hopefully your pod will appreciate. On that same note, Seething Anger and Haze of Rage are a pair of buyback pump spells, with Haze of Rage even having Storm. Now, conceptually, that's insane. Because if you play it once and you get the free buyback, then you get 1 copy. You play it again, now you have 2 more copies. You play it a 3rd time, 3 copies, and so on. So even with just playing it thrice, your board is already +6/+6. But what is our board? Well, Arco, Flagellant, and Lab Rats can make a huge board out of nowhere. And again, since the Lab Rats have buyback, if you lose 4 life, that's pretty much free. If you have the black mana, you can just keep paying it to make rats over and over again. Now speaking of 4 life loss, we also run Mob Rule. It's like a mini insurrection, bad insurrection maybe? But the mode to always choose in this deck is the first one, gaining control of creatures with power 4. Now Rowan is conveniently a 4/2, which means we'll gain control of her and more importantly, untap with her. This means we can tap her again, and even with just the 4 life loss, we now get a discount of 8 because, you know, the ability doubles. Still on the aggro plan, and since we're losing a bunch of life, we can run Greven. This guy's awesome. He's one of my favorite characters from MTG lore, and sure he's not dealing commander damage, but he does give you another life loss matters effect, especially if we can't get Rowan to stick. Last on the list is Exsanguinate. People know that our deck is going to be based around life loss, and so one of the ways that they'll mitigate that is just by beating us down to the ground, making sure our life totals are low. So, Exsanguinate buys us some breathing room and hopefully gains us enough life to spend for a big turn. Rowan is fragile though at just 2 toughness, so we're gonna need to be able to protect her. Greaves and Boots go a long way in saving us from disruption, and plus they grant haste, which is huge since our commander has a tap ability. Bolt Bend is a neat trick that'll only cost us 1, because Rowan has 4 power, plus it's one way to protect our spells against counter magic. The next is Pillar Drop Warden. It's a super unsexy pick, I get it, but it can come down, protect us for a bit, even against flyers, and we can use its ability to get back a ritual or whatever else we're able to put in our yard. The reach is actually why I value it more, because there are a few creatures in red that can just, fine, get instants and sorceries back from the yard, but the reach, I think it'll matter way more than we think. Last is Orcus, Prince of Undeath. He's got some versatility as a board wipe or as a mass reanimation spell, meaning we can get something like our Priest of Gix or Priest of Urbrask back. But if we do wipe, Rowan's ability will still be active for the turn, meaning we can probably recast her anyway, and with the life loss still attached to the Ogre, that means we can tap her and snowball into bigger value. UBP time! So we talked about the importance of haste, and so no surprise, we're running Fervor, Rising of the Day, and Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort. These grant our team haste, and they do it as a static ability, meaning our opponents will have no time to respond to Rowan as an activation when she comes down. Again, I value the body on Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort because we're a little light on creatures, and so our opponents will be trying to get our life totals low just to minimize our commander's value. Magerite Stone and Thousand Year Elixir are ways to untap Rowan, because again, once she taps, we've locked in our discount. So it's a good way to be able to snowball that mana advantage and hopefully end the game. Plunge into Darkness and Blood Celebrant are just ways to lose as much life as we want at instant speed. So, just use the Mana Celebrant's ability to be able to pay for itself over and over again. Molten Steel Dragon is a card we can play either for free, or again, use its ability to pay for as much life as we need to power Rowan. Remember, tap Rowan first, and then start using these abilities. I cannot stress that enough. Last on the list is Rakdos Charm. It's just a responsible card to play. It has Graveyard Hate, or Artifact Hate, or sometimes players can get low enough in life, or create such greedy wide board states, that the third mode can outright kill someone. Alright, time for meat and potatoes, and for ramp, we're bringing the usual artifact ramp: Soul Ring, Signets, Mind Stone, Bauble, Talisman. The Talisman's actually pretty good because we can get that extra 1 life loss, it might come in handy. Some less stately ramp though is Staff of Completion. It's a versatile mana rock that we can just dump a whole lot of life into, as well as Patriarch's Seal. It's a mana rock that can untap Rowan, which can help us snowball into that value. Generator Servant is a way to bank mana because it's 2 and then later it can sacrifice itself for 2, and if we use it to cast Rowan, we can give her haste. haste. Again, it's huge in this deck. Finally, Solemn. Makes sense for me in this deck because we are running a few creatures and it's just a great blocker. I know 2/2 doesn't sound like much, but people don't like killing the robot. So in a way, we get to ramp, we get to save some life, propaganda style, and when it dies, we get to draw a card. It's almost like a saga. For removal, we're going with a mix of staples and some spice. Blasphemous Act and Vandal Blast are practically auto-includes in any deck that can run red, while Feed the Swarm is enchantment removal with life loss tacked onto it. Whoever dismembers, Snuff Out, and Fire Covenant are low mana value ways to take care of creatures, but also instantly lose a bunch of life. Blood Money is a 7-drop that reimburses us with a bunch of treasures, and Decree of Pain is an 8-drop that'll refill our hands quick, and with a discount of 6, hopefully be enough to win the game on the same turn. Card draw is gonna be the glue that's gonna keep this deck together. Faithless Looting and Night's Whisper are low mana value card draw spells that'll just smoothen out our turns, especially when we're setting up. Phyrexian Arena and Moria Scavenger can net us a card every turn, with the Scavenger being a Death Touch 1/4 to disincentivize value attacks against us. Magus of the Wheel and Wheel of Misfortune are wheel effects that can draw us a full grip, and we can dump a whole bunch of life loss into the Wheel of Misfortune to get the ball rolling. Some top-end draw stuff are Commune with Lava and Damnable Pact. These are immense sources of card advantage depending on how much we put into X, but even if we don't dump a whole lot, they can help us dig for a lot of what we need, whether it's game enders, rituals, or what have you. Doom Whisper and Infernal Sovereign are some heavy-hitting flyers that are just terrific enablers in this deck. And lastly, I rarely run these types of effects, but Runescar Demon is a tutor on a body that can get us whatever we need to close out the game. So whether that be an untapper if we need more discounts, a ritual if we need colored spells, or we need the actual payoff like a Crackle Power or Torment of Hailfire. And so that's the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Some quick channel updates. I am planning on covering a whole bunch of these Wilds of Eldraine commanders, but maybe in the shorter form version, like the less than 5 minutes ones. I hope you guys enjoy those. For the full-blown deck ones though, I am eyeing a couple. I think Will is a great commander, other than having a great name. Also maybe Ariat. I think her art is just awesome, and she has some really unique abilities. I'm also planning on recording another podcast episode. And if you haven't yet, I hope you do check them out. I don't think I'll be getting into Commander's Masters though. Hopefully that's okay, and I do apologize for that. But hey, we got Wilds of Eldraine to look forward to. In any case, please don't forget to tap the like and hit subscribe. It really helps us out. Thank you so much for the support you guys have shown. Until next time, stay inspired, friends, and I'll see you soon.